Welcome to the Legends of Kansas podcast. I'm Brandon McAnderson, joined by KU legend, Super Bowl champion Chris Harris Jr. The Jayhawks went down to Orlando and did something that great teams eventually have to do. They won ugly, they won tough, and they won because they finished 27-20 over UCF, and it felt like a defining game for this year's team. Chris, we've seen this before. Every good team has that one game where you get punched in the mouth and you got to recalibrate. That was the kind of game this was. You could see the growth, the composure, the discipline, and the ability to get stops over and over again when the moment demanded it. Down 14-0, Jalen Daniels just steadied the ship. LeSean Williams finished on the goal line with 3 touchdowns. The Kansas defense pitched a second half shutout for the first time in history in Big 12 play, and it all ended with that dramatic goal line stand. All right, so let's start with Bengali Kamara and the anatomy of that second half shutout. He came into the game and everything changed. In the first half, UCF had ran for 6.3 yards per carry on design runs with 112 yards and 2 touchdowns from Miles Montgomery. After halftime, 1.9 yards per carry. KU finished the game with 5 tackles for loss. 4 of those came after halftime. Kamara was involved in 2 directly and created another by collapsing the line on a counter look that forced Montgomery to bounce into traffic. Chris, you've played with Hall of Fame players in the front 7. You've seen them bend the line of scrimmage to their will. A difference between a defensive front that's guessing and one that's dictating. Chris, welcome to the show. What did you see from Bengali and how he took control?
I mean, it's definitely needed. You know, we said this before the game. If people go back and listen, we said their UCF's run game is going to be tough. Montgomery's been running hard, and we needed to be able to shut him down in the second half. He got going in the first half, but us being able to make those adjustments, see what Bengali go out there and play aggressive. Great tackling. I would say we've had pretty poor tackling.
Yeah,
Right, it's not up to my standards. I'm pretty high standard when it comes to tackling. So somebody else's people, other guys, they might be like, "Oh, it's been okay," but to me, it hadn't been that high. And but he was one guy that has been a solid tackler for this team.
Yeah, there's a mentality shift just from him in general. You could just see him on the sidelines, walking up and down the field, scowling. As that first half went on, knowing that he can make a difference, knowing that he wanted to make a difference. But you mentioned it early. It was the same bugaboos that Coach Leipold has mentioned pretty much in every press conference. The same things that we've kind of discussed week to week in the podcast. Just an inability to play with the correct leverage points. Missed tackles, and as good as Montgomery is, I mean, we made him look great in that first half just by not getting penetration, not getting disruption, and not being able to finish. But Bengali came in, and that was the ripple effect. It felt like it gave us a second level of disruption, because when you think about our defensive line, defensive tackles, every time you watch the film of those guys inside, it's not like they're getting beat or getting dominated are getting pushed all over the place. They're kind of doing their thing. The issue was, I think there was open gaps, and you have a guy like John Kamara, who's at the opposite end of the spectrum of Bengali, right? Big time talent, super raw, but he's just getting started. This guy needs to play football and has to learn from these opportunities. You can see he'd see an open gap and wasn't certain what to do with it. He would see a play stretch and sometimes would run away from the ball to get to his gap integrity. So he's just a young player, that's developing, and having a mentor like Bengali helps. But if you look at it, that rhythm was evaporated. Second half drives, 3 plays for 7 yards, 4 plays for 6 yards, turnover on downs at the goal line. The defense just manifested all the things that we have kind of been hoping for. They all came together, and it really was about Bengali's corruption, his ability to just kind of glide all over the field and make plays happen. So let's start with that second half drive. You get Bengali, he's isolated on a tackle, playing that outside 5 or 7 technique, and gets a win. Just talk us through that. It ends up being an outside win for Bengali and a sack for Tommy Dunn. Talk us through what you saw there, and just talk to us about the disruption Bengali causes.
You got to have that. You got to have that edge pressure, right? And us being able to get edge pressure at that time, knowing that, hey, this team has to throw the football. We're up at this point. They're out of their game plan. And I said this on Friday, that we need to make this team one-dimensional. And we finally were able to start to do that second half. But, Montgomery had a good day. I think We got to be able to eliminate these 100-yard running backs, and make these teams beat us in the air. And I think our secondary played better. I still think there's still some ways to go, but I think they played a lot better. And then when it comes down to crucial downs and making crucial plays in the red zone, we made those plays that win you the big that win you the big games, in those situations. And getting a 4-down stop on the road, I don't think people understand how hard that is as a defense to be able to lock in and buckle down. And usually they have the momentum. Usually they can just run right in and just bulldoze us. But 4th and 1 stop, being able to have crucial stops and crucial moments. That's why I kind of see this defense being not a dominant defense, but a defense that can get those crucial stops and key times to win us the game. So shout out to those boys. Continue to fight. And man, it was a great win, man. I know UCF was definitely mad.
Absolutely. And like you said, it's about timeliness, right? Montgomery, I think he had 10 carries for 100 yards. So his first 10 carries went for 100 yards, and his next 7 went for 3 yards. And that just shows like an attention to detail. And like we were mentioning before, like the Bengali effect was not just the plays he was making, because he didn't make every tackle. Even on his first play, he got into the game, he missed the first tackle. But what he did was he caused disruption. That allowed, I know Justice Finkley, it's like he perked up when Bengali got in the game, because he started activating. He started getting in the backfield, making plays. Trey Lathan, there was a play where, Trey Lathan always reads it right? He always plays it down the middle. You saw there was a play where Montgomery got a step on him and he missed the tackle just a bit. I mean, almost that same play happened, but the difference is the interference that Bengali can create, right? He can beat a guy one-on-one. He can slide through a gap. Now he's able to dictate what the offense is doing. I know as an offensive player, as a running back, my favorite thing to do was control the linebackers with my eyes, with my posture. And when you're able to do that, you can control the game, because they're playing from further away. They're playing from 4 or 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. Bengali was done with that. He was in the backfield, in the gap, saying, if this is the gap you want, come over here and get tackled, because otherwise that's what's going to happen. And what you saw was there was just less options. Like when Montgomery would break a tackle like he had broken in the first half, there was nowhere to go. He couldn't go right or left. And also, I mean, something we'd be remiss if we didn't mention was DK McDonald made a great adjustment in the second half just to play closer on the outside. And what you saw was Taven Jackson, Chris, could not wait to get rid of that ball. And when he did, it was in tight coverage.
Right. That's what we were asking for, guys to get up and play a little bit more aggressive, challenge these receivers more. And I think we did that. Teams, you're going to get beat as a DB, and especially when we have younger corners or on the road, it's going to happen, right? And especially with this transfer portal, more likely you're going to see a veteran guy. You can see a lot more 5-year receivers now. You know what I mean? So it can happen. So you just got to trust your technique, trust your fundamentals. And I like the way Coach McDonald, brought the pressure in the end, and then let these guys play aggressive. The secondary, I've seen way more communication.
Yes.
Just guys more in tune. So this game, we just can't let a team get hot running the football. That's all it is. But secondary definitely improved, and that's what you want to see each week. You want to see improvement. Can we still improve tackling? Because I think we're still high on that missed tackle chart. We eliminate that and continue to get those big stops, and our defense is right there. We're close.
Absolutely, because you got to love the players. You love what I know you called out Leroy in the pregame. Leroy was awesome. I mean, he had a couple pass deflections. He was running sideline to sideline on some of their RPO stuff. Just a big, fast man that had a huge impact. We mentioned Justice Finkley, who was in there just ripping and running, making plays, and the interior run game. And then a couple young players. Austin Alexander had that huge pass breakup. Dak Brinkley, number 9, a young pass rusher, a redshirt freshman. He had some really, really nice moments. And it's good to see these guys get this experience now, because you were a young player once. And getting over this hump, you were a young player on a good team. And, what does it do for guys like Austin Alexander, guys like Dak Brinkley, to make plays and big moments to support a big team win?
It's huge, especially when you know that you're kind of a new guy out there, right? You're, pretty much our whole defense is a lot of those guys, but he's fresh out there. He hadn't had that experience, and that they're going to target you. They're going to come after you. So to be able to get this win, be 4-2, 2-1 in the Big 12, possibly could be undefeated.
Yeah.
So they should be feeling very well. The Big 12 is still wide open. They have a great chance to go win that. All the goals that Kansas has is still right here in hand. And, all they got to do is keep playing, man. I think Trey Lathan, he's playing himself to an all Big 12 player this year. To continue to, dominate every week and be all over the football. I love the way he's playing.
Absolutely. Let's just zoom in on that for a second. Let's get to that goal line stand, because we saw first down, they got about 6-7 yards, got it to the 2-yard line, and then everything changed. Yeah. Second down, they tried a quarterback sneak, and Bengali just met him in the air, pulled him down, no gain. Second down, they tried to run Montgomery again. You saw Lyric Rawls and Blake Harrell squeeze in and keep him from getting any movement. And then on that fourth down, again, Blake Harrell had to make that play. He had to crush that guy inside. You saw Bengali meet the puller. You saw Leroy kind of hold up his guy on the ground to make another interference, and it was one-on-one. It was their guy versus our best guy, Trey Lathan, in the hole. He pulled him down, got that elbow down. Talk us through what you saw on that big fourth down stop.
I mean, it was definitely great by Trey Lathan to be able to scrape over across. And if people see it, if they go back and watch it, he slipped inside that puller. I think it was a receiver.
Yeah.
He slipped inside that receiver and was able to make the tackle. And I think his fit might have been on the outside of the receiver, but he slipped in and still made the play. So when I had linebackers like a guy like Trey that can make plays or switch his gap on the run, I would kind of let them do their thing, and then I would play off of them. Right. So him making that play, slipping under, not even doing his job right, just shows the type of playmaker that he is. And then everybody, getting that push back. You got to have that from those guys, big boys up front, and guys got to be scraping from all the way around, because it's going to be a one-on-one initially, but after that, the big boys are going to try to push, and then the defensive line are going to start pushing. So you got to it takes everybody on those 4th and 1s, man. But just great read by him, and slipping underneath, knowing that it's probably not his job schematically, but he's still able to make the play.
Yeah, that's what you got to do when you're a playmaker, and that's what Trey Lathan has been every opportunity he gets. And it felt symbolic, like as a person that went through this as a player, in 2006, we couldn't win a game to save our lives. We lost all these opportunities until we didn't. And once you start winning them, that's what changes. That's what makes it symbolic. That's what felt like this team was crossing a threshold, not about talent, not about flash, but about grit, about being a 111. We always talked about doing your 111, doing your one job, and defense is so dependent on guys doing their one job. And we pointed out Trey Lathan with the tackle, but like you mentioned, the line of scrimmage didn't get moved at all, and if they had, there would have been a place for him to go. If guys didn't fit right outside, he wouldn't have been able to run into Trey Lathan straight up and down. So, all these guys did their part and made stuff happen. And you'd think that would be the end, right? You get that 4th down stop, we won. Not the case. They had to go back out there and do it again, and they forced 4 straight incompletions. That's where we saw the young guy, Dak Brinkley. That's where we saw Austin Alexander with a big pass breakup. So you can see it's not just one guy. It's not just 2 guys. And it wasn't a talent thing. It was a grit thing. No. It's about guys showing up and making plays when they needed to. That can be duplicated. So let's talk about the offense a little bit. The offense in the first half was the steadying force. They didn't get off to a hot start either. A little bit of miscommunication. Jalen was a little off on a 4th down attempt, and they're down 14-0. They're facing a 3rd and 4, and they got to have it. Jalen Daniels goes to this tight end group. They lost Deshaun Hanika midway through the last game. He had been off to an incredible start, but Kansas is just so deep. He was having such a good year. He's done for the season. He had a surgery. We're wishing him the best. But this tight end group just keeps on producing. Broden Gruen on an option route catches it, takes it 46 yards, and then it felt like everything kind of changed in the game. What was your perspective of that, Chris, that opening for the offense and Jalen just kind of being the steady in hand when things weren't going right?
Yeah. I mean, this guy's definitely been the MVP. I mean, he's playing good. I don't think he threw a touchdown pass or I don't think he threw an interception. So we'll go with that. He's very smart, protecting the football, especially in the rain. right? You got to give the kid credit in the rain. When you're playing sloppy games like this, turnovers are bound to happen. Fumbles are bound to happen. It happens all the time, in those type of games. And Williams, I said before, he would be player of the week. I'm pretty sure. I mean, 3 touchdowns. He did enough to continue to solidify him as being the number 1 running back. As a total, I think they ran for over 100 yards as a team. So that's still solid. Being able to do that on the road, that's what you need to do. I wish we would have got our receivers just a little bit more involved, but I understand it's a rain game. Offense isn't all the way clicking there. It's on the road, so it's gonna be tough. It's not gonna be a stat game week. So this is kind of one of those games that you just got to get the job done. The tight ends pop up every week. Bowden, is that you say his name? Bowden?
Yes, Bowden Gruen. He was awesome.
He's making plays every week, popping up, and we need we know how important the tight end is in Lance Leipold's system. Regardless who he has at the offensive coordinator, we've seen every coach, he has to have a tight end. Right. We need a playmaker there. So those guys are stepping up. And I just like the way Jalen's playing, not forcing it, not giving the ball away to the other team, and just making them work for every point.
Yeah, that was one of the favorite things I liked about Jalen is when, Kansas was backed up a lot. Central Florida did a really good job in the kicking game. They had a really great punt, and they kind of were able to keep field position in the second half. I think that's the one thing that kept the game from getting out of hand was that they were constantly in good field position. We were constantly in bad field position. We had the drive. We started on the 11. Harry Stewart had that 15-yard run, but we got an offsides the next play, and that pushed us back. We had to punt on that drive. 2 times they started drives inside the 1. So they didn't have a lot of opportunities to get rhythm and continuity after those first couple third quarter drives. But that's a testament to Jalen protecting the football, giving up on plays when he should give up on plays, dumping the ball when he has an opportunity at somebody's feet. He kept the negative plays away. There were some pre-snap things that were unusual for Kansas, but in terms of like the sack game and protecting the football, Jalen was awesome. And he did a really good job of even the quarterback sneak game. We haven't even been that good of a quarterback sneak team, and they had one almost go for a touchdown, and they were able to convert and get us off the goal line when backed up. I just think JD is a complete player, and you can see him week to week grow as a player. And honestly, I'm at these games, I'm watching. When we have an opportunity and the ball's in his hands, I know he's going to do his part. I know he's going to finish. He's going to put this team in a position to win the game, and that's what he continues to do every week. Running game is something we've been talking about in terms of continuity. It wasn't a knockout punch run game, but Chris, it wasn't a 1 yard on first down run game either. It wasn't a 2 yard on first down run game either. There were a lot of 4, 5, 6 yard carries. What did you like about the run game? And it seemed like they had a little bit better continuity than what we've been seeing the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I like the run game. We still need some more big plays out of there. 32 carries, I think over 100 yards, 3 touchdowns. They did what they're supposed to do in the red zone. Right. Finish the drives. You might not have got us all the way down there, but you finished it for us. And so you got to salute those guys for doing their job, getting in the end zone. It's still hard to get in there. Williams was able to get in there 3 times. In a game where we knew it was going to be hard to throw the ball. So shout outs to him. Do we still need more? Yeah, we need more, because if we look at the other teams, they're running for more yards. I try to base it. That's kind of like the how we got to base it off of, right? Mm-hmm. Did we run more yards than UCF? No. So we still need more. And so we need Harry Stewart to continue to grow. I thought he was solid. Yeah. It's good to see him and get some carries. But as the games get harder and harder, and we start to play for this Big 12 championship, we're going to need a consistent run game, continue to play smart football with JD, not turn the ball over, and find those big plays with Henderson. I think there's still more big plays out there for him, but UCF did have a solid secondary.
Yes, they did.
Their guys were pretty fast, pretty sticky in coverage. So they made it, they weren't bad. So it was a solid opponent on the road, and you just got to give KU credit for going down there and getting it done.
Absolutely. We always want more with E-Man, just because he spoiled us with what he's done in the passing game. But coming into this game, UCF had only given up 5 20-plus yard plays all season. I'm pretty sure Kansas had nearly 5 in the game. They had Cam Pickett. He had that seam route that went for 30 plus. Broden Gruen had the 46-yard catch, and then you had E-Man down the sideline when he was one-on-one. He had a 20-yard catch. He had a 20-yard crosser earlier. So this was a defense that was not giving those things up, and Jalen was still able to find those opportunities. But like you mentioned, as these competitors get more difficult starting next week, going down to Lubbock and playing what appears to be the cream of the Big 12 crop so far this season in Texas Tech, they're going to have a run game to win that game. They're going to have to be able to hand the ball off and get 5, 6, 7 yards if they want to have an opportunity to win that game. And it seems like what we're seeing is they can do that. They can become that. It's just a matter of, can they consistently produce? Can they consistently find continuity, find those hidden yardage, and make people miss? Because this is Big 12 football. Everybody's talented. You got all the scholarship players. Dudes are making plays. So if you want to be a good running back, you want to have a good running game, you got to make people miss. You got to make plays happen. So that's what we saw a little bit of. We saw that with Harry Stewart. We saw that with Le'Shawn Williams, but we want more out of that run game. We want to end these games with a stronger run game, with stronger run production. And I think they are very, very close to getting there. And they're going to have to be there if they want to compete. One note about 14-0 holes. This is like the third time we've seen JD in a 14-0 hole on the road and come up with a win. Did it against Houston a couple years ago when they were down 14-0 in a rain game. Came back and won that game pretty handily. That same season, West Virginia, they were down 14-0, came back and won that game. I mean, let's just talk about JD from a historical perspective of not just like, what we're seeing, right? It's super fun. The statistics are there. He's one of the top 10 quarterbacks pretty easily in the nation, top 5 for me. And if you want a guy in the biggest moment, I don't want anybody else. I want number 6. Let's talk about him in his historical context, the comebacks, the career he's had, and just what this game can do for this team this season.
I mean, he's been, you could say he started out very hot. First 2 years. You could say probably last year's probably his worst year. Just with the turnovers, right? But he still made plays and injury issues. But now that he's able to, be healthy, lead this team, he's been a great leader just by seeing him, how he interacts with the team, bringing all these guys along. Everybody believes in him, seeing that belief in him, and he's doing a great job. So he has the experience and the toughness of what you need to go into a Lubbock, Texas, and getting a win on the road in a very tough environment versus a team that's very hot right now. It's top 10 ranked team in the nation. So I would feel very confident going in the game with Jalen Daniels, knowing that, hey, we still got a chance to win.
Yeah, I think that is the magic of Jalen, is that you are going to have an opportunity to win every game he's playing in. And I'm starting to see winning plays, Chris. I'm starting to see winning mentality. I'm starting to see winners do what winners do. I think one of my favorite plays from the game was watching, when we were backed up late, and we had to punt out of our own end zone, watching Emmanuel Henderson cover those punts, Chris. I mean, talk about a guy. How many teams in the Big 12 have a number 1 receiver covering punts like their life was on the line when the game was literally on the line, when you wanted to punt the ball? Ain't no way E-Man's coming out, right? He's not just a receiver, he's a football player. And that had so much carryover to me, emotionally, like energetically, to what we did as players, what our team did. I can remember vividly against Colorado on the road, failing on a third down, and I felt like I missed a block, but being able to run down on the punt and make the tackle. Just describe like what it's like to have E-Man, a proven winner from a proven program, become your star, become your best player, but still be gritty and grimy enough to run down on a punt and cover it with so much force and so much intensity and so much intentionality. Like, this guy's a pro, Chris.
I think it was a rule with Mangino.
Yeah.
If you were a starter, you still had to start on 1 special teams.
Yeah.
So I think that's what was the rule. So I just chose to start at punt return. I was just let me just stay out there on defense.
Stay out of here.
But you had to start on something. I truly believe that. And I think you were the
I was a PP. I was on kickoff. I was on everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody had to find a role unless you were Talib. I think Talib's role was he had to do punt return with me,
Yeah.
at the corner. So everybody needs a role, especially in this college football game. To see him stay out there on the field, also, his work ethic and blocking. This kid blocks, right? He's blocking hard.
Yeah.
He's running hard on special teams. He is the perfect kid to come to Kansas, right? By his effort, his enthusiastic play, the way he just lays it on the line for his team every week. So I'm very impressed with this kid. And I just like the way his energy was. When I was there, I got to see his energy. He's very likable, and I think guys feed off his energy. If we go out there and get him hot early versus Texas Tech, I think everybody's gonna feel that on the team, and
Yeah.
we can kind of ride that wave. We did that versus Cincinnati. We just didn't stay right there, but
Yeah.
we didn't carry it over. But if we come out there hot versus Texas Tech, that's gonna be big for the team.
Absolutely. And that's E-Man's an equalizer. He's an equalizer. He's as good as anybody in the country at what he does. You saw him make hand catches. You saw him run and deep overs. You see him run away from people and get separation when they run man and mesh concepts. You've seen him hit deep posts, RPOs. He can do it all. I like the way they moved him around a little bit more in this Central Florida game. You saw him in the slot a little bit more. You saw him in a little bit more unique stances because Kansas is always going to have a coverage identifier. I mean, they run motion every play, and they're always going to have a coverage identifier. And that's what's awesome about having E-Man is that if you're man on him and it's Jalen Daniels, he feels like he has a chance. I mean, one of my favorite plays from the game was, JD had an unblocked rusher and saw that meant E-Man was one-on-one and basically blindly threw a dime to him, just dropped it right over the top. I think their synergy and their growth, that's the stuff that can equalize because you feel like, I'm not here to crown Texas Tech. And I know that people are in a hurry to do so. And I haven't watched them in film yet. And I've played against good teams. I played against that Texas team in 2005 that won the national championship with Vince Young. Dude, it's no mystery to play against a juggernaut team that's loaded at every position, but every game is winnable. And you feel really good when you got equalizer players like JD, like E-Man, like Bengali, like Trey Lathan, like Leroy Harris. You see the players, and I think that's what's beautiful about this type of win because now you can see where the other part of that comes in, the grit. You can see where these guys are stepping into something and they're excited about competing at a high level, exciting about showing what they got and the opportunity to really step up and win a game. Chris, give us something, man. As we head into this weekend, what are you looking forward to in this Texas Tech matchup? I know we haven't gotten into any film breakdown, but this is it, man. This is the big game. This is what you want to do. You got a chance to play football, against one of the best teams in the country at prime time. Just describe what you're expecting from this game.
It's a huge game. You expect KU to come out, and we got to be able to stop the pass this week. Of course, they have a running back. I think it's Dickey. I think he could definitely get away. He's elusive. But their quarterback Morton has been able to throw the ball. I think they're first in the nation in pass, putting up 40-something a game. So a secondary got to be ready, man. That's what I'm looking forward to this game. Secondary coming out with a good plan, great communication in the back end. Pass rush, get ready to come seek out this quarterback, right? We need to rush this week, and let's make them one-dimensional. We know they're going to come out throwing the football, right? Do not let them pop out big runs. Right? Just keep them one-dimensional, make them just throw, and we can send that rush and we can send the dogs. But if we allow them, they be balanced. That's when Texas Tech is very tough, and we don't want that to happen. We'll have a long weekend in Lubbock. So that's what I want to see. I want to see our secondary come ready this week and get ready for this quarterback.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that at the end of the Central Florida game, they found something, right? You saw tighter coverage, heavier boxes, made it much harder to run, made that quarterback get rid of the ball because, Texas Tech wants to play a similar numbers game. You don't have enough numbers, they're dumping it outside. If you have the numbers inside, they're going to run it. So they're going to play a numbers game. Let's load up and dictate what they're going to do, force them into things that we know they're going to do, and take advantage. This Kansas defense has enough talent. We saw him outside. We saw him make plays. You saw DJ Graham when he was closer. He played better. Lyric Rawls being in the box, he played better. Having Bengali for a full game. So all these different things could come together, but make no mistake, Lubbock is a very tough place to play, and they got a whole lot of talent. So this Kansas team has got to be ready, but what they did and what they proved to themselves is that they can finish, they can get it done, and they can win Big 12 road games, and they did that down in Orlando. So we're excited about that opportunity. We're excited at what they're about to step into in Lubbock. Chris, thanks for joining us. This is the Legends of Kansas podcast. We'll be back with next week breaking down a hopeful win in Lubbock.